Let me ask you something. When we talk about journalism, we often hear the phrase truth and integrity. But what happens when these values are compromised in the name of breaking news or sensationalism? What happens when journalists, in their rush to capture attention, cross the ethical line? Today, we explore the darker side of legal journalism, where ethical dilemmas lurk behind every headline and the pressure to sensationalize legal cases then cloud the pursuit of truth. When journalism goes wrong, the consequences are far reaching, not just for the people involved in the case, but for the public's trust in the media and the justice system itself. Welcome to episode 5 of The Truth About Legal Journalism, Unfiltered. Part 1 is about the ethics of legal journalism. Where should the line be drawn? Before we dive into the dark side of legal journalism, let's first talk about ethics. Journalism is supposed to serve one primary purpose: to inform the public with accuracy and integrity. Legal journalism, in particular, carries the added responsibility of not just informing the public, but doing so in a way that doesn't harm those involved in the legal process or distort the truth. Where should we draw the line between telling a compelling story and respecting the rights of individuals involved in legal cases? What ethical considerations should journalists keep in mind when reporting on sensitive issues? The answer isn't always clear. In some cases, sensationalizing a story or focusing on shocking details may grab headlines and boost viewership. But when does this become a violation of ethics? The power of the media in legal cases can be dangerous when pursuit of ratings outweigh the responsibility to report fairly. Part 2 of this lecture is about sensationalism and its impact on legal cases. Sensationalism is perhaps the most dangerous form of unethical legal journalism. In the pursuit of higher ratings, some media outlets focus on most shocking, controversial, or emotional aspects of a case, often ignoring the facts or the bigger picture. Consider a case like Jessica Lal murder case. The media's coverage of the case was highly sensationalized, focusing on glitchy parties, the political connections, and the public outcry, rather than the legal nuances and the pursuit of justice. While the media played a vital role in keeping the case in the public eye, the sensational coverage also had serious consequences. The public's perception of the case was shaped by emotional and biased narratives, not by the legal facts as presented in the court. Sensationalism doesn't just affect public perception, it can actively harm the legal process. It can make it harder for those involved to receive a fair trial, and it can bias the jury pool, creating a public trial before the case even starts. Part 3 is about the power of the narrative, ethical responsibility of the media. Let's talk about how powerful the media narrative really is. The way the media frames a legal case can have far-reaching consequences. It shapes how the public perceives the accused, the victim, and the entire legal process. Take the example of the Nirbhaya rape case. The media's portrayal of the brutal assault and murder created a sense of public outrage. While this helped bring attention to the issue of sexual violence in India, it also created a certain narrative around the case that may have impacted the judicial proceedings. The focus on gruesome details and the emotional aspects of the crime caused the public to pass judgment on the accused, even before the trial could unfold. But here's the catch: when the media presents a case as a moral battle, it often forgets to show us the complexities of the legal process. The question we need to ask is, are the media outlets in the pursuit of ratings responsible for creating a distorted narrative that serves the public emotions rather than the truth? Part 4 of this lecture is about the ethical dilemma of guilty until proven innocent in legal journalism. Now let's address one of the most insidious ethical dilemmas in legal journalism: the presumption of guilt. We all know that in a fair legal system, a person is innocent until proven guilty. But when the media takes a story and runs with it, often sensationalizing the crime or focusing on the most scandalous aspects, they risk eroding this fundamental principle of the justice. Consider the Kangana Ranaut and Hrithik Roshan legal battle. The media coverage surrounding their feud involved both celebrities accusing each other of different offenses. The stories, often sensational in nature, led the public to form opinions without knowing the full extent of the legal battle or the actual evidence presented. The media created a narrative of guilt by painting one person as the villain despite the legal process still being underway. This is a classic case of media presuming guilt and damaging the reputation of individuals involved before any legal conclusion is reached. It's an ethical failure because It undermines the core principle of justice and misguides the public into thinking that the media-driven narratives are the truth. Part 5 is the ethics of reporting on victims and witnesses. Another area where ethics is often compromised in legal journalism is when it comes to reporting on victims and witnesses. While the media has a responsibility to bring attention to injustices, it also has a duty to protect the privacy and dignity of those involved in sensitive cases. Victims, especially in cases involving sexual violence, often face secondary victimization through media exposure. Think about the way the Delhi gang rape case was covered. While it was essential for the case to be covered to spark conversation around safety and justice for women, especially in cases involving sexual violence, often face secondary victimization through media exposure. Think about the way Delhi gang rape case was covered. While it was essential for the case to be covered to spark conversation around safety and justice for women, the media's focus on the victim's personal life, her injuries, and her last moments before death was highly exploitative. This not only caused emotional harm to the family but also violated ethical standards that call for respect and compassion towards victims. Furthermore, witnesses can become targets for media sensationalism. If they are not treated with the necessary privacy and respect, they may hesitate to speak out, testify truthfully, knowing that they will be subject to intense media scrutiny. Part 6 of the lecture is about the consequences of unethical legal journalism. Now let's look at the consequences of unethical legal journalism. The damage caused by sensationalism and unethical reporting isn't just temporary, it can have long-lasting effects on everyone involved. First, consider the impact of the accused. Being the subject of a media frenzy can lead to irreversible harm to their reputation. Even if they are ultimately found not guilty, it's the idea of trial by media where someone is convicted in the court of public opinion regardless of the legal outcome. Second, think about the impact on the victim. Ethical violation in reporting can lead to further trauma for those already suffering, particularly in cases of sexual violence or domestic abuse. Finally, the public is impacted as well. When media outlets sensationalize legal cases, they often misinform the public, presenting them with a one-sided narrative that overlooks the complexities of the law. This results in a public that is often ill-informed and prone to making judgments based on emotions rather than the facts. Part 7 of this lecture is how can journalists uphold ethical standards in legal reporting. So how can journalists ensure they maintain ethical standards while reporting on legal cases? There are several strategies they can adopt to avoid sensationalism and ensure they report responsibly. First, focus on the facts. Journalists must prioritize facts over sensational headlines. Instead of focusing on scandalous details or emotional reactions, they should focus on providing accurate, well-researched information. Second, respect for privacy. Journalists should always consider the privacy of victims and witnesses. Sensitive details should be avoided unless they are directly relevant to the case. Third, balanced reporting. It's important to present the multiple sides of a story. Instead of painting one party as a villain, journalists should seek out all viewpoints and present them to the public so that the full picture can be understood. 4. Avoid biases and prejudice. Journalists should remain impartial and avoid showing bias, whether for or against the accused or the victim. This is crucial for ensuring that public opinion is not swayed by biased media coverage. Now it's time for the conclusion of the lecture. Unethical legal journalism doesn't just harm the individuals involved in the case. It undermines the entire concept of justice. Sensationalism, bias, and a lack of accountability in media coverage can create distorted narratives that have lasting consequences. As consumers of news, we have a responsibility to demand more from our media. We must expect journalism to uphold ethical standards and prioritize truth over sensationalism. Only then we can truly ensure that media serves the public interest and uphold the principles of justice. Thank you for joining us on this important journey in episode 5 of the Truth About Legal Journalism Unfiltered. Stay tuned for more discussions on how legal journalism affects the justice system and remember, the truth is always worth pursuing, no matter how challenging it may be to uncover. Don't forget to subscribe and share your thoughts and join the conversation. How do you think the media can improve its coverage of legal issues, and what steps can we all take to ensure ethical journalism in legal world? Leave your comments below, and I'll see you next time on the Truth About Legal Journalism Unfiltered on